Today we'll try to speak about two bands that they have connection between them, and I'm speaking about the band Sanctuary from United States, from Seattle, and afterwards, of course, I'm speaking about Nevermore. So, first of all, I have to say that if someone asks me what do you prefer, Sanctuary or Nevermore, I will say I prefer a little bit more Sanctuary from Nevermore, but in any case. So, Sanctuary, they started as a US power metal band in the years in the end of the 80s, and afterwards in the beginning of the 90s. They made two albums, and afterwards they disbanded because of grants that came out in these years, especially from Seattle. And if I have to speak about Sanctuary, for many years they have these two albums, and only after so many years, in 2014, when Nevermore disbanded, Warrell Dane, their mastermind of the band, made another third and last album of Sanctuary. So Sanctuary, they have three albums, and for me, the three studio albums. They have also another album that is of cover songs and of some songs that they were not they were unknown until this day. But I'm speaking about the studio albums. So for me, if I have to speak about the worst to best, let's say, albums of Sanctuary, first of all, I will put the third album and last album. It was also the last album of Warrell. And I'm speaking about the album The Year the Sun Died. A very good album also, I can say. But people that are saying, and they are not, and they are right, that this album is very influenced by the Nevermore sound. In the second place, I will put their first album, their debut album, and I'm speaking about the album Refuge Denied. There are some people that didn't like the album because of the production of the album, that the production was made by Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. But in any case, this is a very good example of US power metal of these years. And unfortunately, that for many years people they thought that they knew Sanctuary only as the band that their members have the more long hair, let's say, okay. And in the first place, for me, their best album of Sanctuary, of course, comes their second album and the last album for many years. Then speaking about the album Into the Mirror Black. And now, when Into the Mirror Black it was in the 90s, in the beginning of in the year of 1990 that came out, and afterwards they were disbanded. The Warrell Dane with also another member, they made the band Nevermore 4 years afterwards. For this reason, I will have to speak also about one Greek band from Greece. Yes, and I'm speaking about the band Scar of the Sun and their album In Flood of my friend Panagiotis Katsopoulos. That also this album is very influenced by the Nevermore sound and style. And now let's speak about Nevermore. Nevermore, they have 7 albums and 1 EP. And for me, from worst to best, let's say in the 7th place, I will put their last album of 2010, and speak about the album The Obsidian Conspiracy. Also, it's a good album, but we can understand the whole conflicts that were inside the band in these years between Warrell Dane and Jeff Loomis from the other side, one of the best guitarists of the metal world. Today he is in our enemy. Also, Warrell Dane, he made another 2 albums, I think, of solo albums, but I'm not speaking about them here. So for me, this is in the 7th place, their last album. Now, In the 6th place, I will put the album Enemies of Reality. And here there were many people that they have problem with the production of the album. For this reason, they made another production afterwards. But here's the original production. Now, in the 5th place, for me comes their debut album, Nevermore. There are some people that they like this album a lot, but there are other people that they don't know even that the album exists. 4 years after that Sanctuary disbanded, they came with this album. Now, in the next place, in the 4th place, I will put an album that many people they think that is the best album of Nevermore, and I'm speaking about the album Dead Heart in a Dead World. Next, this is not exactly an album, it's an EP, okay? An EP, and I'm speaking about the EP In Memory, okay, with 5 songs, and in this album they tried to take some songs of Sanctuary and made them by the logo of Nevermore. And now, in the 3rd place, for me comes one album before their last album, that it came out in 2005, and I speak about the album This Godless Endeavor. A very good album. Unfortunately, after this album started whole problems, there were many members of the band were alcoholics, and they have also many conflicts between them, and it took them 5 years until they made their last album, the Obsidian Conspiracy, and afterwards they disbanded the band. Now, in the 2nd place, for me comes their 2nd album, and for me is the first album that I listened from Nevermore, and I'm speaking about the album The Politics of Ecstasy. A very good album. Let's say that when I listened this album first time, I didn't understand in which genre we can say that Nevermore are under. They're not exactly groove metal, they're not exactly thrash metal, they're not exactly US power metal, they're not exactly progressive metal, they are something, all these kinds of metal together. Okay, something very, very special. And now, in the 1st place, for me, about Nevermore comes their album Dreaming Neon Black. Here we have so good songs. This is a masterpiece of Nevermore. The whole concept of the album, okay, Warren Dane wrote this album in the memory of one ex-girlfriend of him, that she committed suicide by drowning in a river. In any case, this album is so special, and so we can say soul clean. It has an effect of soul cleaning in the same way as the album The Silent Enigma or Alternative 4 of Anathema. Okay, not exactly the same music, but in the same effect. It's so good album. So from Israel, from Jerusalem, stay metal and stay heavy.